My evil stepsister made my life hell, bullied me at school, stole my room, threw a wild party, then ran away, and now my stepmom says it's all my fault. Hey everyone, I've got something I need to get off my chest. It's about my nightmare of a stepsister who moved in a few months ago and has completely turned my life upside down. She came in thinking she could do whatever she wanted without consequences, but let me tell you, karma always circles back around. Just a bit of background: I'm 15 years old, and I'm my dad's only child. My parents split up when I was really young, and ever since then, my dad's been raising me on his own. He owns a small business and some commercial properties across a few states, so he stays pretty busy and travels a lot. Still, he's always been a great father, loving, responsible, and kind, even if we don't get to spend as much time together as I'd like. I was around 5 when my parents divorced, and my dad was granted full custody. My mom passed away when I was 10, so for the past few years, it's just been the two of us doing our best to look after each other. Before she died, I used to spend 1 week out of every month with her. After she passed, my dad made a promise to keep that routine going. He started working from home for a week every month just so we could have quality time together. That week quickly became the highlight of my month. We made the best memories during that time, and it honestly felt like nothing was missing in our lives. I never felt like I needed a mom, not when my dad was doing everything he could for me. But then, everything shifted last year when my dad married a woman I'll call Karen. She's quite a bit younger than him, he's 52, and she's 35. They'd been dating for about a year before they tied the knot. I met her before the wedding, and let's just say, I wasn't a fan. If you ask me, she's a textbook gold digger. She had just gotten out of her own divorce when she met my dad through some dating app, and I honestly have no clue what he sees in her. From the moment I met Karen, I had a bad feeling. But I kept quiet because I didn't want to make things harder for my dad. I understood he might be lonely, and maybe, somehow, she made him happy. I never expected him to stay single forever, and I genuinely hoped he'd meet someone nice. I just wished that someone had been anyone but Karen. Now Karen has a daughter from her previous marriage. Her name's Ashley, she's 16, and when our parents got married, she ended up going to the same school as me. I don't know much about Ashley's biological dad, except that Karen seems to despise the guy. She tries to keep Ashley from seeing him and often pressures her not to visit, even though she still goes over there once in a while. Ashley's the real reason I'm writing all this. She's an absolute nightmare, spoiled, rude, selfish, and arrogant beyond belief. She acts like she's better than everyone else and looks down on me and my dad like we're beneath her. She complains constantly, never helps out, and refuses to do her homework. Most of her time is spent scrolling through her phone, online shopping, or binge-watching Netflix. And Karen? She never says no to her. It's like Ashley's the queen of the house now, and Karen expects us all to treat her that way too. Ashley's always stealing my clothes, using up my makeup, and taking my jewelry, and then she has the nerve to lie about it. She even sneaks her boyfriend in when no one's home and told me not to say a word about it to either of our parents. To be honest, I wouldn't even care about that, it's not really my business, but the problem is, that's not all she does. I wish sneaking around with boys was the worst of it, but she's so much worse than just bratty. Karen never disciplines her. Instead, she showers Ashley with whatever she wants, almost like she's trying to win her over. When they moved in, they brought so much stuff with them. Karen took over the master bedroom, which used to be my dad's, and filled it with her flashy, over-the-top furniture, tons of clothes, and accessories. She even convinced my dad to let Ashley have my bedroom, saying I'd be off to college soon anyway, so I should just adjust for a few years and then I could get it back. I was devastated. I pleaded with my dad to let me keep my room, but he said Karen made a fair point and that I should try to make my big sister feel welcome. They also claimed the guest room, the only other decent space in the house, and filled it with Karen's Pilates gear. I'm not even allowed to step inside, let alone touch anything in there. Not that I care, but it left me stuck in the tiniest room in the house, barely big enough for a bed and a desk. I had to move a lot of my belongings into the attic because there just wasn't space in the new room. My dad did apologize, and he said Ashley needed more room since she was older and this whole situation was new for her. He even offered to clear out the guest room for me if I really wanted it, but I could tell he was just trying to be nice. That room was packed with workout gear and there's no way all that would fit in the small room I was in, so I didn't push it. I thought about suggesting Ashley take the small room since she'd only be here a few years, but I let it go. I didn't want to make things harder on my dad. And honestly, I didn't hate the new setup. I'm busy with school and extracurriculars most of the time, so I didn't need a big space to be happy. I had my books, my laptop, and my guitar. Plus, I've got some great friends at school who totally get me. Lately, I've been spending a lot of time at their houses after school, mostly to avoid Ashley as much as possible. So I started throwing myself more into my schoolwork and hobbies. I had one goal in mind: get good grades, get into a great college, and get out of this house as soon as humanly possible. But of course, Ashley wasn't about to make that easy for me. Once she transferred to my school, things only got worse. She started bullying me there too, spreading lies, mocking me in front of everyone, calling me names, and finding new ways to humiliate me publicly. She even stole from my locker once and tampered with my schoolwork. Naturally, I went to my dad about it. But instead of believing me, he said I was probably mistaken and that someone else must have taken my stuff. Ashley seemed determined to make every single day miserable for me. And since she was a junior while I was still in middle school, I didn't stand much of a chance against her on campus. At home, I tried my best to stay out of her way, but that wasn't easy either, not with how in-your-face and obnoxious she always was. What really stung was how she tried to drive a wedge between me and my dad. She was sneaky about it too, not outright lying, but always saying just enough to make me look like I didn't like her. She'd tell my dad how she'd always dreamed of having a little sister and how she wished I'd be more open and loving toward her. I tried explaining everything to him, but he brushed it off like always. He'd say Ashley was still adjusting, that she'd been through a lot, and that I needed to give her time and patience. She had this way of acting so sweet and innocent around him. She'd be all smiles, calling him dad, asking him for things, and playing the perfect daughter. And somehow, it worked. Just a few months after Karen and my dad got married, Ashley turned 16, and guess what? My dad gifted her a brand new, really expensive car. That didn't bother me too much. I've never been materialistic, but what did hurt was how my dad slowly started spending most of his home week with Karen and Ashley instead of with me like he used to. Ashley picked up on it fast and used it to rub salt in the wound. She'd say things like, "Once you're off to college, he'll forget all about you. I'll be his only daughter then." I tried to brush it off and told myself she was just being petty and immature. Deep down, I knew my dad would never just forget me, not even if Ashley became his favorite person in the world. Then came their wedding anniversary last week. Karen and my dad planned a weekend getaway at my uncle's beach house. At first, my dad didn't want to stay overnight, he thought he'd just go for the day and come back, but Karen convinced him to stay. Ashley chimed in, saying she'd take care of everything at home and keep an eye on me. My dad had never left me home alone overnight before, and the idea of being stuck with Ashley while the adults were gone made my stomach turn. I had a bad feeling in my gut. But I didn't want to ruin their weekend or seem ungrateful, so I told him it was fine. I said I could handle things and promised to call in right away if anything went wrong. Turns out, I'd be needing to make that call a lot sooner than I expected, but we'll get to that. As soon as they drove off, Ashley turned to me with a smirk on her face and handed me a stack of papers. I stared at them, confused, and asked what it was. "Rules," she said. "For the weekend." She told me she was throwing a party that night, and this was my instruction manual. I had to follow every single rule or she'd make my life at school even more unbearable than it already was. I looked down at the paper and almost laughed out loud. It was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen. She actually wrote stuff like, I had to lie to my dad if he called to check in. I was the one responsible for cleaning up after her party. I had to make sure nobody went into her room. If her friends needed a room, I had to let them use mine. And she expected me to fork over part of my allowance to help fund her party supplies. I stood there stunned. Who did she think she was, writing out a rulebook like she was some dictator? That was the last straw for me. I snapped and told her straight up that I wasn't going to follow her stupid rules and that I'd tell Dad everything if she dared throw a party. I reminded her how much he hated stuff like that and how he'd never allow it. That was a mistake. Her face darkened and her tone changed instantly. She warned me, told me to watch what I said unless I wanted her to do something I'd deeply regret. I knew she was capable of making good on that threat, so I backed down. Or at least, I pretended to. In my mind, I was already making a plan. This was the opportunity I'd been waiting for, solid proof I could finally show my dad. I figured I'd keep the rulebook and present it to him when he got back. And if she did throw the party, I'd get photos and videos of everything. I knew my dad was pretty relaxed about most things, but a wild party? That would definitely cross the line. I decided to play the part, pretend to be scared, act like I was going along with it, and meanwhile, gather all the evidence I could. Ashley bought it. She looked proud of herself, thinking she had me under her thumb. But I couldn't wait for that party to kick off. When the night came, I played along just like I planned. I helped her set things up, acting all nervous and obedient, while secretly taking mental notes of everything going down. Once people started arriving, it was total chaos. Loud music, drinking, stuff getting broken. I even saw a few things I knew for sure would not go unnoticed later. It was everything I expected. The only thing I made sure of was keeping people away from my dad in Karen's room. I couldn't care less about Ashley's dumb rules, so I locked my bedroom door, then barricaded myself in the master bedroom. Before doing that, I snapped as many pictures as I could. Ashley drinking, dancing, the mess, the beer cans, everything. All of it, saved for later. Ashley's plan was to wake up early the next morning and make me clean up the entire house before our parents came back. But she had no idea what I had in store. I woke up super early the next morning, probably around 6 a.m., and when I stepped out of my room, the house looked like a complete disaster zone. There were people passed out on couches, the floor everywhere. The mess was unbelievable. I took a deep breath, gathered every ounce of courage I had, and called my dad. At first, he didn't believe me. He thought I was exaggerating or maybe just upset. But after a few more minutes of me explaining what was going on, I think he could hear the seriousness in my voice. He finally realized I wasn't making any of this up. And when he got home and walked into that wreck of a house, his face said it all. He was furious. The icing on the cake? Ashley's ridiculous rulebook. I handed it to him, and you could see the anger rise in his face as he flipped through the pages. She'd basically written out instructions turning me into her personal servant. Karen was standing nearby and looked like the ground had dropped out from under her. She was totally embarrassed, and I'd be lying if I said it didn't feel satisfying. After everything they'd put me through, I finally had something concrete to show my dad. He didn't waste a second. He came down hard on Ashley. First, he banned all her online shopping, took away her phone, and told her she'd have to move into the small room because I was getting mine back. It was clear he was done making excuses for her. Then he asked Ashley directly if everything I told him, the bullying, the manipulation, was true. She tried to deny it, of course, but he cut her off. He told her she had officially lost his trust and that she should forget about the car. He was going to sell it and put the money toward my college fund instead. That's when the waterworks started. Ashley went from fake apologetic to full meltdown. When my dad mentioned the car, she completely lost it. She started screaming about how unfair he was being and called me a scrawny little rat who'll never be anything. I couldn't even take offense. I almost laughed. It was like watching a spoiled movie villain realize they'd finally lost. But my dad didn't let her slide. He told her to apologize to me for that insult. Predictably, she refused. Instead, she stormed out of the room, yelling that she hated both of us and couldn't wait to go live with her real dad. I glanced over at Karen, and for a moment, I saw real panic in her eyes. She looked genuinely worried Ashley might actually leave. That's when Karen jumped in. She had been quiet this whole time, only saying earlier that she was disappointed in Ashley. But once Ashley ran off, Karen turned on my dad. She started defending her daughter, saying he was being too harsh and that taking away the car was unnecessary. She said they could have just grounded her for a few weeks instead of turning her life upside down. My dad asked me to head back to my room while they talked things out privately. I didn't hear everything they said, but even from behind my door, it was obvious their argument got heated. Voices were raised, and they were going at it pretty hard. That's when guilt crept in. I started to wonder if maybe I had pushed things too far. I hadn't meant to tear the house apart. I just wanted Ashley to finally face consequences for once in her life. Later that evening, Dad came to talk to me. He told me how grateful he was that I had helped him see what was really going on, and he apologized for not believing me sooner. He said I would always be his top priority and that he was just trying to make Ashley feel comfortable in a new environment. He never intended to make me feel like I was second place. At dinner that night, things were incredibly tense. No one said a word. Karen tried to talk to Ashley at one point, but Ashley just stood up, yelled that she never should have come to this house, and stormed off again. I never meant for any of this to happen. I didn't want to cause fights between my dad and Karen. But I also didn't want to keep pretending everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. Update 1: Thank you to everyone who commented and told me I didn't do anything wrong. My dad says the same, but I think a part of me still worried he was just trying to protect my feelings. Hearing support from others really helped. As for what's happening at home now, Ashley still hasn't apologized. She acts like I don't even exist. Honestly, that's fine by me. Ignoring each other works great. My dad warned her that if she even thinks about messing with me at school, things will get even worse for her. So school's been good lately, no drama, no stress. And yes, my dad kept his word. Ashley only gets her phone during school hours. As soon as she walks through the door, it's back in his hand. She's not allowed to hang out with friends or go anywhere. And best of all, I got my room back. Honestly, it felt even better than I expected. Dad told Ashley she could earn her phone privileges back if she apologized to me. But she refused. So, yeah. Not my problem. About the car, at first I thought Dad was bluffing just to scare her. But no, he meant it. I think he already has a buyer lined up. That's been the main cause of tension in the house. Ashley throws a fit practically every day about it, and Karen keeps picking fights with Dad over it too. I wish Ashley would just say sorry, even if she doesn't mean it, just to end all this chaos. I know my dad. If she apologized and behaved, he'd forgive her. But if she's going to stay stubborn, there's not much anyone can do. Karen's also been colder toward me. She hasn't said anything rude directly, but I can feel it in the way she looks at me. Like I ruined her perfect little setup. Even though I don't think I was wrong anymore, I do sometimes start to regret everything just because of how awkward and messy things have become. Anyway, thank you for sticking with me through all this. I just hope Ashley apologizes and we can finally move past it. Update 2. Well, things didn't settle down. It's only been 3 days since my last update, and a lot has changed. Remember how I mentioned Ashley said she wished she'd never moved in with us? Well, it turns out she wasn't just saying that. The day after I posted my last update, Ashley and I headed off to school like normal. Karen wasn't home that morning, so we didn't get a chance to talk to her before leaving. When we got back in the afternoon and Ashley still wasn't there, my dad started to get genuinely worried. He tried calling Karen to see if maybe Ashley had mentioned going to the mall or somewhere else, but Karen hadn't heard a thing. Karen began calling around to see if Ashley was with any of her friends, but no one had seen her. That's when I started to get concerned too. I hesitated for a bit, but then I figured maybe I should tell them about her boyfriend. I wasn't trying to snitch, I just thought maybe she was with him and we were all panicking for nothing. Karen asked if I knew who he was, and I told her he's a senior at our school. I didn't have his number since we're not exactly friends, but I asked around and got it. When I called him and asked if Ashley was with him, he said no. Karen took the phone from me and asked him directly if he knew where she might be. At first, he hesitated, but after a little pressure, he finally admitted that Ashley had gone to her dad's place. That's when Karen absolutely lost it. She started yelling at my dad, blaming him for everything and saying that he was the reason her little girl had run off. She kept saying Ashley had never done anything like this before and that it was all his fault. My dad stayed calm and told her she was overreacting. He pointed out that if Ashley was with her dad, at least she was safe and they didn't need to panic. Still, to be sure, Karen called her ex to confirm. He told her that Ashley had come over right after school and said she planned on staying with him for a while. Karen demanded to speak with her, but he told her Ashley didn't want to talk to anyone. That kicked off another shouting match over the phone. Karen accused him of keeping Ashley from her and he told her flat out that Ashley was old enough to decide where she wanted to stay and if she'd driven her daughter away, that was on her. Once the call ended, Karen turned her fury back on my dad. The fight got so intense that he told me to head to my room again. But I lingered in the hallway and ended up overhearing a lot. I'd never heard Karen that angry. She was screaming, saying my dad had ruined everything and now her ex had control over Ashley again. My dad tried to calm her down, saying they could just drive over to talk to Ashley in person. That seemed to work for a moment, but then Karen said something that hit me hard. She blamed me. She said if I hadn't been such a jealous brat, none of this would have happened. That one stung. But my dad? He went ballistic. I don't think I've ever seen him that mad. He told Karen she was completely out of line and that if she couldn't see that Ashley's actions were her own fault, then she was delusional. He said he never should have let Ashley feel so entitled, and that she'd been acting like a bully from day one. That's when I really had enough. I went back to my room, shut the door, and tried to drown out all the yelling. Later that evening, my dad came in and told me he was driving Karen over to Ashley's dad's place. He gave me some cash and told me to order dinner. A couple of hours later, they came back, but without Ashley. I asked where she was, and Dad said that she told them she was staying with her dad from now on. She didn't want to come back here ever again. Karen, of course, snapped at me and said this was all my fault. She demanded I apologize to Ashley. That led to another blowout fight between her and my dad, and again, I was sent to my room. That was 3 days ago, and Ashley still hasn't returned. Karen calls her every single day. Even my dad apologized to Ashley and asked her to come back, but she won't budge. Karen's convinced that the only way to bring her back is if I apologize. But my dad? He's made it clear that I'm not doing that. I'm really torn. Part of me wonders if maybe I should just say sorry, even if I don't mean it, just to end all this. I told Dad I didn't mind, but he was firm. He said no. He told me it wasn't my fault and I wasn't going to fix things by giving in to Ashley's manipulations. And honestly, I kind of feel relieved that she's not here anymore. If it wasn't for the constant fighting between Karen and my dad, I'd probably be hoping Ashley never came back at all. I mean, if she's happy living with her dad, then maybe that's for the best. And if she's not? She knows where we live. She could come back whenever she wanted. Update 3. It's been a month since my last update, and there's been a huge development. Ashley is still living with her dad. Karen kept calling her nonstop, and eventually Ashley agreed to come back, but she had conditions. She said she'd only return if I apologized, got my smaller room back, and my dad bought her a new car. Now, quick note here, my dad never actually sold Ashley's car. He found a buyer, sure, but once she left, he changed his mind and kept it. Ashley knows this. But now, she's demanding a new car anyway. My dad absolutely refused. He told her flat out that she couldn't throw tantrums, disappear, and then expect rewards like nothing happened. Karen, desperate to get her daughter back, tried everything to convince him. That only made things worse. They fought constantly for weeks, always about Ashley, always going in circles. Then, just a few hours ago, my dad came into my room and told me we needed to talk. I thought he was finally going to give in, maybe ask me to apologize or agree to Ashley's demands. But instead, he said something I didn't expect. He and Karen have decided to separate. He told me it was for the best and that I didn't need to worry. He said he was fine, and that this would bring peace back into the house. I was surprised, but not shocked. With all the arguing and tension, I guess I saw it coming. So yeah, Karen and Ashley are leaving our lives for good now. It's strange to say, but even with all the drama, I'm not sure I'd go back and do anything differently. It all spiraled out of control, and yeah, it got ugly, but I stood up for myself. I told the truth. And in the end, that's what mattered.